Good morning, everybody. It's Tim back again, just to start this third episode in the series, um, In Between Heaven and Earth. I think last time we talked a little bit about Luke and who he was and his interests and hobbies and this and that. And today we're going to talk a little bit about his relationship with his friends and family and how all that was. He was he was really close with everybody. Super close with my dad, his grandfather. Growing up, he was really close with all of my brothers. I've got three brothers. More so Ricky and Dwayne and Dale. And Dale is my brother that's in the Air Force, and he just works an awful lot. So Luke, although Luke got to see him and hang out over there from time to time, it just wasn't as often as he got to see Ricky and Dwayne, my baby brother, little brother. Um, on his mom's side, he got along with everybody over there. I'd say the closest over there was he was with was his uncle Bryce was just a few years older than him. Me and Crystal had him, I think, 3 years after Bryce was born. Then there was DJ. He spent a lot of time with DJ as well, and they had a really close relationship. And then there's Victoria, more so Victoria when they were smaller. When they'd come in for the summer, Victoria would always come over and pick up the kids and take them to her house for a few days so they could play and hang out and whatnot. And of course, she wanted to see them. Everyone down here when they were living in Pennsylvania wanted a little bit of time with them when they came in, and understandably so. And there was Ellen. Ellen was Crystal's one of Crystal's smaller sisters. I think it's actually, yeah, she was the youngest sister. So he was close with her. He went over there a lot and hung out, and I think all the boys did over there. All the brothers and sisters all kind of hung out over at Ellen's house. They all lived there real close together in that little area down in Brett County, and so they all were fairly close. And of course, he was also close with Damon and LaDonna. LaDonna had a daughter, Katie, that was born the day after Luke, so there was only a day between them. And when Luke passed, she took that really, really hard. Katie took Luke's passing really hard, and so did Tristan. Tristan was Fonda, which is um, one of Crystal's sisters that had a little boy, Tristan, really close to Luke's age. They'd hang out and go on vacation together. So when when I talked to him at the funeral home, the viewing, I could tell that he was very upset with Luke's passing, and he was, and of course Bryce. Bryce took it really, really hard, and of course we all did, but there were just certain ones that he was just a little bit closer to that took it harder than the rest. Bryce, Bryce and Tristan were the two that I remember the most. Of course he was close with his cousins on this side too. Austin It's Dwayne's oldest. He was just a bit, I think, about a year younger than Luke. They always, when they were little, they'd play together and they grew up together. And Luke would go over there and spend the night. And of course, Luke was really close with Dwayne too, especially as when he got back from living in Pennsylvania. He was older, and I didn't really like. I'm more of a homebody, wasn't into going out and partying and all that stuff. And Dwayne and Shannon still. I mean, I'm not going to say they partied, but they would drink and go to the bowling alley, go to state fair, and things like that. And, I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I have to stay clear of that. But I didn't want to impede on his because he never had any problems with it like I did. I loved it too much, and yeah, and of course he was close with his grandparents, all of them. First and foremost was my dad, who passed about a year and a half before, close to 2 years before Luke did. He's close with my mom. He stayed here, lived here in the house, and she they saw each other every day, and he was really close with Ricky and Gavin. That's my oldest brother and his son, because they both live here in the house as well. So they were really, really close. When Luke died, Gavin said, that's the closest thing to a brother I'll ever have. And he's right. I mean, he was right. They were as close as brothers. Gavin's got two half sisters, but he doesn't have any brothers. But he's got plenty of cousins to make up for it. Just talk a little bit more about Luke and his habits and his hobbies and stuff. He was really big into. He liked that's at that anime stuff. It's kind of like cartoons, I think. He loved watching and drawing that. He likes going out and bowling. He's very athletic in that way. He liked UK sports. Big UK basketball fan, more so than football. We'd always watch the playoffs together, NFL playoffs. March Madness was our thing. We loved doing that together. He loved dabbling in politics. He always kept up with the politics and all that, and Super Bowl coming up. We watched the Super Bowl together and stuff like that. And like I told you, he was a big '80s buff too. He liked the '80s, and his favorite movie, Back to the Future. We used to watch that all the time and just laugh and laugh at it. So funny. He liked Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter series. We watched all of those together. True Blood, Vampire Diaries. We loved vampire stuff, all of it. Interview with a Vampire. That was a good one. He liked Dracula Untold. I still haven't seen that one yet. Kind of breaks my heart because I was off that week that he passed, and he had never been to the new movie theater down here. And that movie Nosferatu had just been released. I was going to take him down there to see that. So that's something that we didn't get to do, but that's okay. That's life. Life happens. I missed the hell out of him, though. I'm not gonna lie. I cry a lot. I just about every day, some point or another. Like just now, I went down to the store and got me a fountain drink, and man, it's something me and him used to do. Man, in the summer, it's just about our daily thing. Sometimes twice a day. But yeah, uh, it's weird the things that you associate with people after they pass. Um, Me and him used to watch Family, or not Family Guy, but King of the Hill together. And since they released the new episodes, since he's passed, I've decided that I'm not even gonna watch it. I'm just gonna steer clear of it. I think it would just hurt too much. I almost started crying in the corner store down there a while ago, and I did once I got out to the truck. It's just tough, man, when you love someone with all your heart and soul. Let me think. What else? Of course, he's a big gamer. He loves Zelda, and I think just a bunch of Star Wars games he liked playing. And let me think. Mario Brothers, of course, we love that, and um, Zelda. Yeah, Zelda was this game, and Metroid too. We like Metroid a lot. I don't know if he ever did got into. I know he liked Assassin's Creed and the Call of Duty games that were real popular. And I don't know if he ever got into like the Grand Theft Autos or any of them. Sure, he did. Most kids did, but I never really heard him talk about them that much. Uh, Let me see what else. He loved reading. He's got a whole tote full of books over here that I could show you. A lot of nonfiction, but he liked the fiction too. Like he's got the Harry Potter series, and he's got the Lord of the Rings series, and he's got the Game of Thrones series and books, and he liked both. I know one of the ones that he read was Unbreakable, and then I think there was another one, American Sniper, talking about I made a movie about that guy Kyle. Can't remember his last name, but yeah, he loved following that. He's a big, 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 big Second Amendment person. A few months before he passed, they had just bought him a brand new sidearm, 45 ACP in 1911, of course, and he always wore that out on his side. Open carry here in Kentucky, and he really, really strongly believed in the Second Amendment. I guess he gets that from both sides of the family. That he was very, very um, what's the word I'm looking, in awe of the founding fathers, and the principles that they built this nation on. He was a true American patriot. Now, when he was, I guess, long story short, I talked to the funeral home director, and she's an old family friend. And I asked her, I said, and I don't think this is going to be a problem, but let me know if it is. I wouldn't feel right, sending him to his resting spot without that 45 on his side that he carried everywhere. And she said, no problem with it. Just kind of get it down there low enough to where, it can't be seen. And So that's what I did. I sent him to rest with that on his side because he was really proud of that. It was a it was a really nice sidearm. But yeah, he also had a AR-15, and you know we talked about different types of guns that I had owned in the past and um, stuff like that. Um, he really was a good what uh, he really was a good artist. He could draw very well. All my children are really good artists. I don't know where they get it because I can't draw a stick person. So yeah, they all since like I said, I got 5 kids and they can all draw fairly good and fairly good artists. And not me, man. I looks like chicken scratch. Um, but yeah, he was always getting back to the relationships. He was always really close with Crystal's mom and dad too. He'd go down there in the summer and spend a few days with Kenny and Faye and the younger kids that when the older kids all lived close by, so he'd get to see them and they'd get to running and romping out in the country and just having a good old time. And I was glad that he got to do that. I think every kid needs a few acres, few hundred acres to run wild on. Maybe pick up a few ticks and experience life a little bit. And I'm joking about the picking up ticks because those things they carry some nasty disease. But if you're living in the country, eventually you're gonna pick up a tick or two. But I think they always sprayed them down with that off or that DEET or whatever it is that keeps some ticks at bay as you're walking out through the woods and the tall grass and all that. But yeah, they'd have a good time, and when like I said, when Victoria would pick them up, he'd go over there, and I worked with Victoria's husband. That's how they met. I introduced me and Crystal introduced them, and but they go over there. He had a big farm too, and he'd take them out riding 4-wheelers and side by sides and all that fun stuff. So they really thought a lot of Luke and the other kids, Luke, Abby, and Elijah, and Luke, Abby, and Elijah thought a lot of them. Our families were really close, and I don't think he ever had a problem with anybody. And I'm trying to think that I can remember. I mean, and even if he did, he wouldn't have said anything. He'd have just dealt with it, like an adult. He was he was good about that. Never had any problems. Never gotten into any fights. Never gotten into any scuffles. Never gotten into any trouble. No drugs. No carrying on. And he was he was a really good kid. He grew up to be a really good man. And let me think. You know, Dwayne, Dwayne and Shannon were really close with him. I think they were probably one of the closest the last few years. He loved spending time with them. Uh, and then again, other than me and him were. But we'll get into that in the next episode. Mine and his relationship, because it might take a few episodes to get through that. He was, and he had a half brother up there too with his mom, and you know his mom and stepdad had a child. He was really close with him too, Connor, and of course he was super duper close to Abby and Elijah. His brother Elijah, I saw him at the one. uh, I'd say because he was his brother, he took it the hardest, and Abby did too, but Elijah showed it a lot more. He's a little bit more soft-hearted, and you know, I guess he gets that from me and his mom. I think we're both very emotional people. We don't really try to hide it too awful much. I mean, ain't no sense in hiding it. If you're hurting, you gotta let people know and get some support, get through it. And then his stepdad, he was really close. Things first when he first went up there, I don't think things were perfect, but I think they ended up, just like in any relationship, blended family. First, it's a little bit rocky, but then it ends up being really, really good. John was really, really good to them. He was a good father to my kids when he didn't have to be, but he did it anyway. Shows he loved my wife, and I think he loved them kids just as much as he loved my ex-wife. So, um, I was, of course, me too. I wasn't always the biggest fan of his, but as time went on, I saw how much he cared for him and all that he did for him, and I was grateful. I told him that at Luke's funeral. He was really close with his mom, but him and his mom butted heads a lot too, because his mom is very, and I ain't talking bad about her when I say this. He's very controlling. He wants everything her way, and if he didn't do it her way, she took it personally, I think. She didn't understand. She never could get it through her head that she couldn't control him, and he was way too independent and individualistic to be controlled by her. So, and I think, once he got old enough and saw that, he, that's when he decided to move back down here because he'd always said that he'd wanted to move. But his mom never thought that was a good idea. Well, switching schools and all that, I understood that. But, yeah, I think, all in all, he was loved by everybody in his family. And, he had a handful of good friends from up there that that really cared for him too. A couple of cousins, by marriage. John's sister had a couple boys, and he was really close with them. Jacob and I can't remember the other one. Maybe I can't really remember, but he was really close with them. And then he had his friends, Brandon, and he had Smitty and Dave Bob, and all those boys that he hung around with when he was in school. I don't know all of them, but I remember those few. One of them, when he went to college, there was, I think it was Brandon. was like his best friend. He actually went to the trade school that was right across the street from the college that Luke was going to. So that made it easier for both of them when they went off to college. And they was both within driving distance of home, so that made it a lot easier too. Uh, yeah, I mean, he grandparents, parents, aunts and uncles, cousins, acquaintances. He, I don't think he had one single enemy. As a matter of fact, I know he didn't. He had a lot of people that loved him with their whole heart. It crushed a lot of people, and the thing that that most of us that's hard for most of us to grab a hold of is that there was no cause of death. We don't know what happened. He went to sleep and he just didn't wake up. So that's what makes it difficult. And uh, but for the most part, it it's gotten. I ain't even gonna dare say it's gotten easier, but it's not as it's not it's not on my brain 100% of the time, just gnawing and clawing, digging at me the way it was in the beginning. And that comes from my faith and how my faith and my relationship with God the Father changed through all this. And that'll be another episode. We'll go down and I'll talk about that and how it changed me. And I think the next episode, we'll maybe talk about mine and his relationship and how close we were the last 3 or 4 years, and how difficult it was for me and how I got through it. Maybe we'll take it, probably just take it day by day, and I'll discuss how I was feeling, how I was dealing, and what I was doing, and my daily routines, and I'll share some tricks of you know how to cope and deal with a loss of this magnitude. It's if you've never experienced it firsthand, you'll never know how difficult it is and how crushing it is and how devastating it is across the board to your heart, to your body, to your soul, to your mind, to every inch of your being and existence. If you truly, unconditionally love that child the way that I love my children, that this is a pain and an experience that you would not wish upon another living soul. So, looks like oh man, I went over a little bit. I was gonna try to hold it to 20 minutes, but looks like we're going on 30. So I'll let you guys go for now. I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening. And like I said, those of you from the support group, thank you for all your support. Without y'all, I never would have been able to make it. I would have thought I was just all alone in this world, and y'all have no idea how much you helped me out and how much I care for you. And I send good vibes and best wishes and condolences to all of you all. Even though even if it's been 10, 15 years since you lost them, I know it doesn't get any easier. You know, um, but I thank every one of you, and just want to say that I love you guys, and God bless you all, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks.